So, being a team player is part of your job, right? Especially in leadership. And when I talk about leadership, people don't understand that there is a different level of being a manager, right? And being in leadership as a manager, right? I'm not really going to go into details, but this is why this position was a little different for me. It wasn't just management, it was leadership. And in leadership, you are there to help in any way, in any capacity you can, even if it means helping the owner or helping your director who did not know a lot of stuff, right? Or they felt like what they were doing was the right thing, but they weren't getting any results. And then I come in and put things in order and they understand, oh, okay. So a lot of that was happening. I was putting things in order. And while I was putting things in order, I was stepping on toes. Why? Because I was finding things that like, how y'all getting paid? Or, how are you working this out with the client? Because you're missing this, you're missing that. You should have been doing this. And why do we have this big problem, right? So a lot of it was like an eye opener. And because I'm there to clean up, when we get together and have our meetings, I'm going to say, this is what I found. And I'm not saying this so that person can be reprimanded. If you fall into this area of, oh, I found a problem and you're the problem, that is not my problem. It is the job of the director to say, maybe we need to pull this manager aside to get an understanding of what's going on. So that's what I was dealing with. But in the same space, a lot of the issues I was finding was directed to one other manager who was running a lot of stuff, and I never blamed her. And this is the point I need to make. I wasn't blaming her for any of her actions. Was she part of the problem? Yes. But I blame the owner. I blame the director because they worked her. She wore many hats. And if you're in my field, you know what I mean. She didn't wear 2 or 3 hats. She wore 5 hats, okay? She was not only a manager in her position, but she was a spokesman when they had to go to their conference meeting, right? She's the one that was part of marketing and sales, right? She had her own clients that she had to handle. She had her productivity that she had to do on top of all the other things they had her doing. And she's one of those people that was like, okay, I'll do it, right? And not complain in their face. But when she was with me, she wasn't really complaining about the individuals or the company. It was more so, well, this is what I have to do type of thing. And I'm like, well, you got to speak up type of thing, right? So there was that, right? And the problem with that is when you become best friends and when you become besties with your manager and the owner, that is a hard boundary to break. That's what I was experiencing, right? So my job was like, listen, I'm going to fix what I need to fix. Y'all handle the rest, but this is what needs to be done type of thing. I was not one that came in there being like, oh my God, sorry. You know, I wasn't timid and I wasn't intimidated by the relationships there. I was there to do a job, right? And that was different for them. On top of this, I was the only beautiful brown girl there. Yes, in that management position, not in the company working, but in the position. And that is another factor because we're challenged, right? I know, I've been in this field for 30 years and we are challenged. I don't have a 4-year degree and I'm challenged. I know a lot more than people with 4 years degrees that has a master, that has certifications, because I worked this with my mind, my hands. I worked through it, right? It wasn't a degree that got me these positions. Not that that's a bad thing. It wasn't certifications that got me this experience of 30 years. It was me working myself up. So there are things that I saw, things I knew how to maneuver, things I knew how to handle, right? Because I worked in these positions before I became a manager. And that's why I'm very fluent in my area of expertise, right? Than most people and most managers. Because most managers, right, that I've worked with, this is my experience, right? Don't come for me. Most managers I work with did not go through the experiences I did. I started out in customer service. I actually started out as a temp back in the 90s, working with a temp agency, right, doing administrative work, and worked my way from a laboratory, Corning Clinical Laboratory in Teterboro, New Jersey, is where I got my start. And I worked my way up because I would listen, see potentials, and go for it. So I worked my way up. I've done everything but dental, right? So I'm very flexible with every position I needed to walk in to get me to where I am now in management and leadership, right? So I can deal with a phone call, a billing issue, a denial, accounts receivable, which is my love. I used to love that. So I was well-rounded. And that's what people love about me. And that's what I've learned over the years, that a lot of people didn't love me or like me. They like what I can bring to the table. And I was okay with that. I was okay with that because that meant that I didn't have to spend extra money going out and sitting at these fake dinners or fake lunches. I just didn't do that. And if I did, it's because there was true relationship or potential for a true relationship. And that was really not my cup of tea because I've been there and I've done that. So I'm always focused when I'm dealing with or in positions of management. You have to be focused. You have to learn, you have to have boundaries, right? And that's where I was at. So if you were on the other end, it may seem like, oh, she didn't want to be bothered, or she thinks she's better. Whatever your thought process would have been, not my problem, right? But what you can never say is that I didn't get the job done. You can never say that I was disrespectful. You can never say I was unprofessional. Because there was times in my past I was unprofessional. And I'm talking probably, 15, before I even left corporate America. I've had some experience where, right, my mouth was a problem that you didn't want to deal with. And I'm not saying that my mouth was a point where I would cuss you out. I wasn't raised cussing people out, right? Wasn't my cup of tea. But I knew how to put you in your place professionally. Why? Because I still had my kids to feed. I still had a house to take care of. So I knew where to draw the line, right? But even that I had to elevate from, right? Why are you going to work letting people get under your skin? Because back in those days, before I left corporate, or even before I got in this field, I did not care about, losing a job, which I've never done. I've always left a job. I've never been fired from a job. I can actually say that in my, let's just say when I was doing retail and when I was 19 years old, I got fired, but that was also, I knew that was coming because there was no way I can work under those circumstances. So that was an experience. But my experiences, to my whole point of this, is your experience should make you better. You should have lessons learned, right? Learn from your experience. So when I got to this level that I'm at, I knew how to handle people. I know how to talk to people. And that takes patience. Not only patience, that takes a level of God in your life. I promise you, you need a faith foundation to get through some of these days that I've gone through.